If you only had 15 minutes to walk a property, could you estimate the renovation cost with enough confidence to make an offer? Most investors can't, and that's why they lose the deal, or worse, they buy it and blow the budget. Here's the truth: hope is not a strategy, and guesswork isn't investing. Renovation costs can make or break your entire profit margin, and you need to walk in with numbers, not guesses. We've managed over $1 billion in real estate assets, and we've walked thousands of units. Our team at Upper Edge Property Management has built proven systems, powered by real-time data that let us calculate rental costs with precision right there during the actual walkthrough. But you don't need a billion-dollar company to do this. With a bit of legwork, a few contractor calls, and the right system, you can estimate like a pro, and let's show you how. So on one of my last property purchases, I walked a property, rundown kitchen, dated bathrooms, warped floors. I had minutes to decide. I didn't have contractors on site, but I used my spreadsheet on my phone and contractor rate benchmarks to estimate the costs at 45 grand. And I made the offer. And it turns out the final job came in under budget, and the refinance brought in that cost back, validating my process. Now, this is a hot topic. Most investors think they need to bring in a contractor with them to estimate renovation costs, and often that's the right move. But how quickly can that contractor give you the numbers? In a day, a week, 2 weeks? You don't have weeks. There are multiple buyers walking through the house, and you need to decide after you're showing if you're writing or not. So you pressure your contractor, and they come up with a ballpark figure. But are you willing to gamble on their expertise? Or would you rather verify with your own systems and numbers? I know what I'd like to do, so I'm going to break down 10 things that we do to estimate costs for our future projects. Now, what you want to do is break every renovation into a line item. What we would suggest is starting with a master checklist. Break it down into different areas: kitchen cabinets, counters, flooring, bathrooms, roofing, windows, HVAC, electrical upgrades, plumbing, painting. Like, this is a big, big list. But you want to break this down modular, and it's going to mirror, ideally, the contractor estimates and helps you spot missing items early. And that's the key here. If you have a list, that's great. You go through, and then now you've bought the property, you've got your contractors going through, and you forgot to estimate something. And it's a big one. I've even forgot to estimate for a roof. Oops, 7 grand later. Okay. I would actually suggest doing this exercise. Walk through a house from the front door to the back door and pretend you're attending a showing. Do this on your own personal home if necessary, or go to a friend's house. Picture what you would first look at. Okay, so you've got your realtor on your right shoulder. They're kind of pushing you to go through as quick as possible. How are you going to go through the property? Obviously through the front door. Are you going to go into the basement to look at the HVAC systems? Are you going to go upstairs and work your way down? Are you going to start outside? Are you going to start in the garage? And then mark down every single conceivable type of repair that could happen, including contingencies for going into the walls: insulation, vapor barrier, drywall, tub surrounds, foundation cracks and repairs, everything. Then you want to build a contractor sourced pricing log. So call your network for typical prices per items. It could be pot lights, laminate counters. Window replacement is a big one because that varies so much. Now, obviously, I have an advantage. Our property management company has been in business for over 25 years, and we've literally done millions and millions of dollars in renovations. So all I need to do is go into my past invoices and pull out some numbers. But even then, some of that data is old and can only be my guide. So I'm in the same boat as you are. So use the intranet, use the phone, call big box stores, go onto their websites, Home Depot, etc. Use these rates in your spreadsheet, update those at least twice a year as these rates change. I mean, wood keeps going up and down. Metals, we've got tariffs that are flying around right now in the news. Everything's going to change. And you're going to be still trying to make real estate work by walking into a property in 15 minutes, walking out and knowing whether you can make a deal or not, and what you're going to be making. Again, hope is not a strategy. Now, I'm going to give you some industry standards and rule of thumbs, but then I'm going to finish off at the very end with what I would give, okay? What I actually do. So the industry would say leverage your per square foot ranges. So these industry benchmarks are usually used to validate large scopes. For example, a light rehab might be 15 to 25 bucks a square foot. A medium rehab might be 25 to $50 a square foot, and a full gut job might be $60 a square foot. But again, this is an internet search, so make sure you're current on these numbers, and ballpark is okay, but it can certainly get you into trouble. For example, if you walk into a house flip and say full gut job is $60 per square foot and you're wrong, you could lose your shirt when the renovations start. Or you walk away and then find out months later from a competitor that the actual renovations were a lot lower. So the ballpark method left money on the table and you didn't participate in that deal. You'd feel terrible. Okay, the second industry rule of thumb, use item specific market averages. Okay, so for example, the industry might say, well, your average bathroom remodel, and I took this from the internet, is 6,640 to 17,600, or a variation of $70 to $250 per square foot. I mean, that's a huge range. That's like triple, 6,640 to 17,600. It's a good rule of thumb. And therefore you could say, okay, well, a bathroom's probably going to cost me 6-7 grand. But as I'm going to show you towards the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to get really granular with every tap, every window, every doorknob, every piece of baseboard. Kitchen rehabs. Here's another one off the internet. 14,600 to 41,600 on average, up to 130,000 for a high end. Okay, so now we're talking about a low end of 14.6 for a kitchen rehab, up to 130K. I mean, that's so varied that it's almost not even worth it, but it still gives you information, so don't discount it. Flooring, again, $2 to $15 a square foot, depending on the type. I don't really like that. If I'm going to go into a house and I've got 6 rooms with vinyl plank flooring, I want to know pretty much, I mean, I have a laser measuring device, as should you. You should not be walking into one of these places with a tape measure. It's way too slow. You want your laser device. You know, if I use my phone as an example, you push a button, put it against the wall, boom, 15 feet. Put it on this side, boom, 10 feet. Okay, I've got 10 by 15. Put that into your spreadsheet, 150 square feet. Okay, now you can start calculating exactly how much that flooring is going to be. Now, you also have to adjust for location and quality because contractor rates are going to vary by region, even neighborhood to neighborhood, city to city. Okay, busy markets, probably premium pricing. So depending where you're living, you might not even be able to get a contractor out for 6 months. Okay. You want to also talk about material quality because that impacts cost. Are you going for mid-grade vinyl, vinyl plank flooring, carpet, quartz countertops versus laminate? Contingency buffers. This is actually a real thing. Okay, I know the internet says this, but this is something that you should do. And those buffers, they suggest 5 to 20%. I would use a solid 10 anyways. You don't want to kind of price yourself into the too risky part of it. At the same time, you want to be a bit pragmatic about it. And this is where you're going to be trying to account for hidden issues. What could they be? Mold is a big one. Code upgrades. So you open the wall, the permit inspector comes in and says, oh, there's knob and tube in here. And you're like, yeah, but I'm just going to change out this one room. And they're like, sorry, now that you've exposed it, the whole thing has to be done. You call your electrician, $12,000. Okay, it happens. So experts recommend about a 10 to 20% buffer. Again, depending on your level of experience, sure, maybe on your first time, build in 20% because you're new. If you're like us, we're probably pretty good with 10. Now, you also want to validate with online tools. So you do all of these things, and then you go out to some of the other sites, Bigger Pockets, you know, REI Kit, Deal Machines. All these cost guides and calculators can kind of tell you where you're at. They give a bit of a sanity check, I guess, and reveal those blind spots. But you want to prioritize the high ROI fixes first. What does that mean? Return on investment. What sells a property the best? Not even in a flip, but in a long-term rental. Kitchens, bathrooms, curb appeal. So maybe you want to put a brand new kitchen in, you want to put a brand new bathroom in, and you want to do just a front wrap on the side with a 1 foot overlap. That's my favorite tip, by the way, of vinyl siding on an older building. It instantly fixes up the picture of the building. Curb appeal, right? So that's the highest builder, and that's going to give you your most appraisal value. Now, you might want to save cosmetic or low impact items for later if your budget constraints appear. So maybe you had all these plans, but then you can do those later, like the cosmetic upgrades, depending on what it is, can be maybe done when you're planning on getting rid of the property a few years later. It really depends on your long-term goals, which is something that I've talked about in previous episodes. You want to update this worksheet, which with actual post reno numbers. Okay. And then you want to track your actual invoices versus estimates. What are your contractors coming in with? Are your estimates consistently over? Or are they under budget? And that's an indication on you as the project leader, not necessarily your contractors. If you are not telling them and going into the walls and telling them, building in those contingencies, and you're consistently over budget, you have an issue, and you're going to have to go in and fix it before you even put ink to paper for another property. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to update your cost catalog now that you've got it dialed in for future use. And here, this is what I was talking before. Here is where I differ from a lot of the others and where I don't like some of these rule of thumbs, okay, that I just mentioned. This is what we do. You take your data, wherever it came from, and you make sure it's good. And then you use your spreadsheets to get really granular. You want to get to the point where you can walk through a property with your phone and then count how many windows, measure the sizes of the rooms, and your magic spreadsheet spits out a cost, adds in your 10 to 20% contingency, and boom, you know if this property is a good deal or not. And since you're on a spreadsheet, you can now use some extra formulas to dial in purchase prices, different scenarios, mortgage rates, your different down payments. Maybe you've got a JV button that you can check and everything changes. This underwriting thing can be then sent out as part of your business plan to your future lenders and partners. Really dial down what the potential profit or losses are to the penny. Now, just one example there, if you really just to hammer home the clarity here, let's say that you have data from 10 different window projects. And so what you can do is take an average of the sizes of those windows, whether it's dual pane, triple pane, whatever it is, divide by the number of windows, and now you have a cost of whatever it might be, $1,256.14 per window, average window size. And then when you go in, you can put that into the formula on your spreadsheet in the hidden part of it. And then when you're going through the house, you simply count the windows. You put 9 windows, and it comes out, boom, got $12,000 worth of window costs. Okay, and do that with everything: the roof, the flooring, how many gallons of paint you need, whatever it might be. You can really get granular to it. Now, what you want to do, my final piece of advice, is practice with mock projects regularly. Practice, practice, practice. I mean, it's like working out at the gym. Would you just work out once and expect to be in perfect shape? Or do you have to put in the reps? This is no different. Walk 2 to 3 properties per month minimum, even if you're not buying, to sharpen your estimating muscle. Over time, your spreadsheet accuracy is going to get better and better and better, and then it's going to be pretty accurate compared to your contractor bids. And on some of these projects, go back to your spreadsheet and see how close you're able to get. All right. In summary, estimating renovation costs isn't guesswork. It's a repeatable, scalable system. Break projects into line items, build a contractor rate catalog, validate with data, add in contingencies, and focus on ROI upgrades and update with actual values. If you want our exact strategies, just join our email list for weekly investor toolkits and deal breakdowns. We've got tons of resources. And if you followed any of my content, you know I had 2 very serious life scares recently, and I'm doing all of this to try to give back to an industry that has done so much for me and my family. Thanks for watching today.